Welcome to Lagoon City Parks and Waterways meeting for Thursday, July 9th, 2026. Nate, can you please play the recording?
Today's meeting is being streamed live on the Township of Ramara YouTube channel. Be advised that by attending a public meeting of the Commission, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and will form a part of the public record. The Chair, CAO, or Secretary have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming in exceptional circumstances where the content of the debate is considered inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in unacceptable behavior or comments.
Thank you, Nate. Before we start the meeting, could you guys introduce yourself? Because I know there's a new person I don't recognize over there. Just fun, who's here?
Yeah, my name is Ryan Matson. I'm the Director of Corporate Services and Legal with the Township.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. My name is Ryan Matson, and I serve as the Director of Corporate Services and Legal.
Brian Rayner, Manager of Bylaw and Animal Control.
I'm Rebecca Zanussi. I'm the Township's Clerk.
I'm Nate Harrington. I'm an Assistant Clerk with the Township.
I'm Laura Pye, the General Manager of Development and Infrastructure for the Township.
I'm Chris LeMay, the Acting Parks and Fleet Supervisor.
Okay, you I want to know. Okay, let's start the meeting. Adoption of agenda and/or agenda additions. Recommendation of the Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission agenda dated July 9th, 2026 be adopted as presented. So on the floor for me, Deputy Mayor, second by the Mayor. All in favor? That's passed. Adoption of minutes 3.1, minutes of the meeting held May 14, 2026. Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission, 14th of May, 26. Minutes, recommendation that Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission minutes dated May 14, 2026 be adopted as presented. So we put on the floor, Commissioner Shoesmith, second by the Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Nothing. All in favor? That's passed. Any disclosure of pecuniary interests? No, I don't see any. Open forum regarding agenda items only. I'm assuming everybody's read this. They're coming up to speak because we have 5 people speaking and you each have 2 minutes to speak. So the first one up, I could read all this, but I think everybody that's speaking already knows the rules. So the first person to speak is Robert Points. Bob has was a member of Parks and Waterways for about 8 years or so. So it's the first time I've seen him on this side of the. So what are you going to do? I think you go over here and you're handing out things. Sorry, Bob. Thank you. Let me know when you're ready.
Good morning. I'm Bob Points, 21 Poplar Crescent, Lagoon City. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, and staff. Commissioners, I am speaking on items 8.1 and 8.3 this morning, and I'm posting a series of questions I hope will include in your staff reports and commission requests from the township. Just for your information, my wife and I have lived in Lagoon City for 20 years now, and this is the worst we have seen. Weeds in the canals and the color of the water. When we first moved here, hardly any weeds, nice clear water. It's not like that now. So something's not going right. So first item, 8.1 staff report, LC 1126. On your staff report, there is a statement on page 2 that indicates no impacts were observed during the 2025 season as a result of This change, staff are referring to the discontinued use of herbicide applications. This year is not the story. There are so many weeds in the lagoons, it's hard to for the dock boats to come out of their mooring, and just on Facebook, you can read just how upset Lagoon City residents are about the conditions of the canal. Question 1, where is the pontoon boat? Question 2, where is the large harvester? And when will it be put into the lagoons? 3, is there a tender out for hauling weeds, and will the commission be voting on that? 4, the herbicides tested to control the water soldier, should or can it be used in Lagoon City canals? 5, can we get the herbicide program reinstated? This is about the water movers. Question 6, can the levy payers have a little bit more detail on what changes were made to the water movers to reduce noise, i.e. clamps, soundproofing, changing the leveling so the water mover does not run at 45 degrees. 7, for the whole canal system, what work has been done to identify where water is moving, where it is not moving, whether opening, clearing, or improving canals would improve circulation? For question 8, for Gonda, East Lagoon, are the water movers enough? What flow do they provide?
You know,
And
Bob,
what-
I'm gonna have to interrupt you. You're well over the 2 minutes now. Eh?
Am I over the time?
Well over, yeah. I gave you extra time because my watch died and I added another minute.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
I'm sorry for breaking into it.
We do have a copy of this. We'll make
Yeah,
sure that
you have
we
a
post that.
copy.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry about that. Like
rules are rules.
Yeah, I think I gave you almost 3 minutes there, 3.5.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, the next person to speak is Dwayne Cook. Oh, he's virtual. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. This is my first time, so I'm not really sure the procedure, but do I just start and?
Yeah, what you do is start, and you've got 2 minutes to speak. And if you do speak with what Bob said, I won't I won't stop you, but you're not supposed to do that. But just go ahead and say what you're saying, and we're not allowed to ask any questions. So just for 2 minutes, speak. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, Dwayne Cook, 100 Laguna Parkway. Lagoon City is often referred to as the Venice of Ontario. However, right now it's anything but. I'm embarrassed by the disgusting state of our canals. The algae and debris on the surface is unsightly and has a very unpleasant smell. Due to the stagnant algae-covered water, we have noticed a large increase in bugs and mosquitoes at dusk and have been unable to sit outside in the evenings. The Commission has a mandate to maintain the canals. It's clear this year that they have failed miserably, and I think this is because the township is trying to interfere with the Commission instead of letting them operate independently. It's clear from the report yesterday that the township is not taking action. Otherwise, they will be making sure the water movers are working 100% of the time and doing everything possible to salvage what's left of the summer boating season. Instead, the report blames the canal conditions on the high spring water levels and instead are recommending to now turn off the repaired water movers. It will only make the conditions worse with even more algae and more stagnant water. I ask you to disregard the recommendation from Laura and ask that the water movers be kept running 24/7 to improve the water quality in the canals, and that the annual algicide treatment be completed ASAP. We only have 3 months or so of nice weather. We're now approaching mid-July, and the conditions of the canals are worse than they've ever been. The navigation and safety of the canals are also a concern. On July 1st, my daughter took our Sea-Doo out from our property, heading out to Lake Simcoe. She got about halfway there, then called me saying alarms were going off. The Sea-Doo could not steer or move. She was now stranded in the middle of the canal. When I arrived, I determined our Sea-Doo had sucked up algae and debris from the surface of the canal and completely clogged the jet pump, causing the engine to overheat and stranding my daughter. To be clear, she is not a novice rider. She has ridden the Sea-Doo for many years, knows to stay away from the shallow areas and the edges of the canal. However, on that day, she said there was no way to avoid all the algae and debris without crossing into oncoming boat traffic. Because the surface skimming was not completed in May and June, in my opinion, the canals are currently very dangerous and unsafe for any jet drive watercraft like a CD or jet ski. The surface debris can easily strand someone and cause damage to the watercraft. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Next person is Ken Surratt.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Ken Surratt. I live on 4 Willow Crescent. We've been resident for about 5 summers, and we are thinking very seriously about being residents full-time by selling our condo in Florida or in Oshawa and moving up here. But I'm very concerned about the canals. I've heard that you're looking into some herbicides going into try to kill the weeds. Maybe that will kill the weeds, but it might kill us too, because I understand the water intake is just meters out into the lake. And what goes in the water is going to come into the intake. So that needs to be pushed out. Maybe there's federal grants or something, I don't know, available, but that needs to be put out like a mile or something into deep, deep water if we're going to be putting any chemicals in to try to control the weeds. In the short term, of course, I concur with the prior speakers. The lagoons are a mess. The harvesters are not operating. I understand there's some delay. Maybe it was a late application. I don't know, but you don't have approval to put them in the water and get them working and start doing something that we taxpayers have been paying for. I don't know what the people are doing who are supposed to be out running those things. I suppose they do other things in the township. However, who would be doing those other things in the township if they were doing their job on water? So I'm not sure just exactly how all that works, but being an accountant, I have things in my mind that think work is just being spread around rather than getting the work done that needs to be done. The canals need to be cleaned out. It was bad enough before the storm of July 1st. Not only are the canals full of weeds, they're full of debris as well. Tree branches. I've seen chairs, plastic chairs in the water. It's a mess. It's a hazard, in fact. And it's almost an emergency situation where something really needs to be done.
Okay. Just finish off in one sentence or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you well over 2 minutes, Dan.
All right. Well, that's mainly my 2 things is, we need to, short term, we need to clean the place up. And secondly, just be careful putting chemicals in unless you're going to push out the water intake or we'll all be drinking it and we'll all wind up with some horrible disease, I think, if we're drinking chemicalized water. There's enough of that in the world now. We'll all wind up with something.
Okay, so the next person is Georgie Jennings. So Georgie, on this, we can't talk about what's in the closed session here. If you're talking about how the closed sessions work, maybe talk about that, but we just have to be careful what's said. And I'm not sure what you could say that's wrong because I don't really know. So I'll get a sign if you're going a little bit off topic on it. That's all. Okay. I just thought I'd give you a warning, let you know, so you're not surprised.
Well, let's start. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you very much. The actions of members of this commission have been found in bad faith by the Ontario Superior Court. The use of secrecy has been pointed out by the court as a negative quality of the Township of Ramara and the LCPWC. Once again today, the members of the commission will huddle behind closed doors in the Richard Bates boardroom, and you will receive an update that cannot be done in this room for some reason. The litigation update. Why? Why is it being held behind closed doors? What is confidential information that the commission is about to receive? All of the information about Bertrand is a matter of public record. It isn't an update being provided for the residents of Ramara. They should hear anything and everything that has to be said. Does the content of this update actually qualify for a closed meeting? This is not about procedure or litigation strategy. This is probably the story of how the township and the LCPWC were found in contempt. It might also be about the several instances of illegality and the 12 counts that were outlined in the court's decision to quash the shore wall bylaw. This is just a story of what went wrong. The residents of Ramara should be hearing it. Who's providing the update? The agenda doesn't make that clear. Is it Mr. Rulo, who was hired by the township after it was found in contempt? Is it Eric Davis, the lawyer the commission hired in January to interpret Bill PR 11? Is it John Ewart, the counsel of record for the township and the LCPWC? Or is it Ryan Matson, our Ramara's in-house lawyer? Ryan, your presence should ensure future compliance. I'm not sure that this meeting behind closed doors is in compliance. I question that. Before I leave this morning, I'd like to thank Greg for serving on this commission. I believe this is your last meeting, and we're going to miss your presence. We really will. Thank you very much.
Thanks. The next one is Sherry Bell.
I want to say we saved the best for last. Okay, so I just want to wrap up a couple of things. Obviously, I'm here speaking on behalf of our community. So first of all, back in May, the town of Georgina circulated a motion to the Township of Ramara requesting that we participate in the program for water soldier mitigation with funding and sending members of staff. So I would like to ask the commission to include that in your request today. Next on, I'm going to just do a quick run through, and as far as governance, we have some missing pieces, and we need to talk about circulation in the larger sense. It was 1999 when the water movers were placed. We have never initiated any kind of a study to find out whether we have appropriate flow, whether channels need widening, all those types of things. Tatham is not ever at this point, they've been engaged, but not engaged to talk about circulation. And we don't even know if and when the gondola water movers are functioning, whether they're going to do solve the problem. So that's number one. Number two, there are two motions outstanding. I have a stormwater motion that I've been waiting for since 2024. So I'm going to ask the commission to ask the township what it's going to do about stormwater management. The Ramara Creek subwatershed plan dates to 2015, so does the stormwater plan. That has also not been implemented, and it has multiple targeted requests for Lagoon City to take actions. There's supposed to be a phosphorus program. There's supposed to be a reserve being built. There's supposed to be education reaching the residents so they would have a better understanding of what those waterways are, because they're absolutely fabulous for navigation and recreation, but they're much more than that. We have public health and environmental health to consider. Water movers, I spoke with Tatham last call yesterday afternoon. They have not been invited, so I'm not sure where the miscommunication is happening there, but they have done no investigation whatsoever when they were placed, and now they're being shut down without us even understanding where we are. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans, I spoke with them around 1:30 yesterday afternoon. Again, maybe just a miscommunication. They do not have the information required in order to continue with the request for authorization. On the water movers, again, we don't have any permit on environmental compliance on noise. Tatham has confirmed that at the time that they do finish investigation, it will be up to the Township of Ramara to submit that application, and it will come back as a written permit. On the herbicide, there are other herbicides that can, or there are other products that can be looked at. They don't replace diquat, but they may work in cooperation with it. Diquat does work, or Reward does work for water soldiers, so there's an issue there. My understanding today, based on phone calls I'm receiving, is that people are adding their own chemicals and herbicides and whatever else to the waterways. That's a problem.
That's
And
enough. Come on.
yeah, I just want to make sure we've
Yeah, I'll
covered
give you
everything
well
because
over
I
2
spent
minutes.
all day on the phone. So, okay, I'll leave it with this. Make sure you check in with me, everybody, and ask for an email or follow me on Facebook, where I have posted all of the actions I took yesterday.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's the last of that. Let me just get caught up in here. Next one we'll be doing is a presentation of receiving petitions and deputations. This is actually, before we start this is a really good deputation. You should really listen to it, because this is the next weed that you'll be talking about the next couple of years. This will be the weed that comes, and this will be one of the toughest weeds that Lake Simcoe, I think, has ever seen. So listen to what they have to say. It's very, very interesting. Presentation receiving petitions. 6.1, Katie Church and Colin Casson from the Invasive Species Centers regarding responding to water soldier in Lake Simcoe. The Invasive Species Center, on behalf of Lake Simcoe Soldier Working Group, a recommendation is that the deputation of Katie Church and Colin, I think it's Casson, from the Invasive Species Center regarding responding to water soldier in Lake Simcoe be received as information. Somebody put on the floor for me, Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Hart there. Not Councillor, Commissioner Hart. Oh, they're having problems hearing me? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me here? Yeah?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, I'll try to come right on the mic. Hi, Katie and Colin.
Thank you for having us.
When you do this deputation, do you want us to hold back questions to the end, or do you want us to ask questions while you're doing your deputation?
If you could hold to the end, that'd be great. We'll keep to our 10-minute allotment, and we have all the time in the world for any questions you have after that.
Perfect. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much.
Can you just confirm you can see the slide deck?
Sorry. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you very much for having us today. I wish we had better news, but we are here to talk about Water Soldier. It's a relatively new aquatic invasive plant and a notable one. So happy to provide an update to the Commission. Next slide, please, Katie. Want to give you a quick Water Soldier 101. We realize this may be some people's first time hearing about Water Soldier and some others, so this is a level setting slide. Water Soldier is an aquatic invasive plant. It is perennial. It is prolific. It was first found anywhere in the world where it is invasive, unfortunately in the Trent Severn Waterway in 2008. It was found in Trent Hills, or I don't know, maybe a dozen locks east of you on the Trent Severn Waterway. There's a number of pit stops along this timeline here. I'm going to skip for most of them. The most relevant Lake Simcoe point on this timeline here is 2015. The plant was found in the Black River in Georgina, and there was a great rapid response found. The plant was eradicated thanks to a very small early find, very quickly found. There was a herbicide application. There was hand pulling. There was great collaboration from municipal, provincial, and non-governmental organizations there, and a success story. Fast forward a number of years, in 2024, a couple summers ago, it was unfortunately found well away from that Black River detection in Cooks Bay, in the southern and southeastern part of Cooks Bay. And that really is the pressure point that we're here to talk about today, is that population in the southern part of Cooks Bay. There is good news story on Water Soldier broadly. Since the province regulated in 2015, prohibited the sale of this invasive plant, I like to say, turned off the tap on new introduction points. There's no more buying and selling Water Soldier. It was an extremely niche water garden plant. No one, thankfully, had any large economic challenges associated with it. And the good news is although it was found in a number of private ponds, 20 private ponds have been reported and 14 have been eradicated successfully. The rest are under active management right now, and we hope that they're on a path to eradication. So we're trying to clean up those smaller population private ponds, we have the tools available to us, thankfully, to pursue eradication in those environments. But there are a couple large populations, and the Cook's Bay population is the largest in North America or in the world where this is an invasive species. Next slide, please, Katie.
Okay, I just wanted to provide some background on the actual plant. So it is an invasive perennial aquatic plant. One of the most interesting things about this plant is the way it behaves during that peak growing season. You can see in some of these photos here, it remains submergent through most of the season. And during that peak growing season, like around July to early August, it can become buoyant and float to the top and become these dense colonies on the top of the water, like you see there. The leaves have these sword-shaped leaves. They kind of look like the top of an aloe vera, the top of a pineapple or an aloe vera plant, and they do have serrations. And like Colin said, it was reported in Lake Simcoe in 2024. In response to that report, a collaborative working group was formed to support water soldier surveillance, monitoring, and response in Lake Simcoe, and to explore options to mitigate impacts associated with the new detection in an ecologically important area. So the group focuses on communications and outreach, monitoring plan development and implementation, and an integrated management plan development, with the goal to prevent the spread and to support management to mitigate impacts to Lake Simcoe. So as of 2025, an interagency monitoring team was organized to monitor Lake Simcoe. And you can see here, they monitored over 5,000 hectares of Lake Simcoe and completed over 3,000 point intercepts. Those are the dots you're seeing on the maps here. So all the green is those point intercepts where water soldier was not found. And then you get into the orange, yellow, and red where the water soldier plants were found. You can see found most dense in the southernmost part of Cook's Bay. And really important to note, none were found within the Holland River and within the main lake of Lake Simcoe. And then just in terms of findings last year, it was around 450 hectares of water soldier. So I'll just show you some drone photos and an up-close photo of what we're looking at. So you can see some really dense colonies of water soldier formed and the boats having a hard time getting through those there. And I'll pass it off to Colin.
So there are a number of, as we mentioned on that timeline, water soldier, we have a bit of a history with water soldier in Ontario. Since 2008, unfortunately, we've been learning about this. It is the first jurisdiction in the world outside of its native range where water soldier is an invasive species. So a lot of these learnings have happened since 2008, and unfortunately, they're starting out of Ontario. We don't have the ability to call another jurisdiction and say what works, what doesn't. Please help us expedite our process. So a lot of these learnings have happened over the last decade and a half, really, thanks, unfortunately, to what your neighbors to the east and the Trent Severn in the Trent River and Trent Hills have experienced. There are a number of impacts associated with Lake Simcoe's health that could be challenged further if water soldier lets loose further beyond its current distribution. It is a dense plant, and that has negative impacts in terms of fish health. And of course, your beautiful lake is an absolute gem in terms of recreational fishery opportunities. On the recreational line too, there's other negative impacts. I'm sure you can see very quickly, thanks to those drone photos that Katie showed on the last slide there. It is not something that we can get our boat through. Of course, the submerged vegetations, as unfortunately you know very well, are a challenge to navigate through. This plant is later in the season, midsummer, right about now actually, fully emergent and physically blocks the movement throughout the water column. And those plants are stacked on top of each other too. So it is just super dense. And unfortunately, that's not something you can boat through or swim through, regrettably. Of course, with those light serrated edges that Katie mentioned too, it's not something that even if you are comfortable swimming through plants, it's not something you want to do. It's not a pleasant experience. Impacts to local landowners and lake users as well. These are just some of the lessons learned very quickly that we've found from other jurisdictions. Next slide, please, Katie. We are at a critical juncture on Water Soldier. 450 hectares, for a little bit more context from our perspective. We know invasive species by trade. We are not for profit, and so with other experiences and other species and other programs and projects in hand, 450 hectares is a lot. Just to be frank, the plants right now are contained to Cook's Bay, as we understand its distribution. You saw Katie's wonderful map there, thanks to the great hard work that some of the seasonal technicians did last year to monitor with those green dots. Thankfully, no water soldier, yellow and red dots, meaning more dense water soldier. It is contained to Cook's Bay, as we understand its distribution right now, thankfully. But spread, left unchecked with no management approach and action happening, I think it's reasonable to assume that spread can and will happen. Action is essential on this to prevent further expansion of its distribution outside of its current distribution within Cook's Bay. No single agency, this is part of the problem, part of the wicked elements of this problem, is that no single one agency can manage this alone. There's connections here to federal jurisdiction, provincial jurisdiction, and unfortunately municipalities and landowners and lake users ultimately find a bit of a challenge too. It's one of those things that kind of cuts through jurisdictional challenges. We like to say invasive species could care less about political boundaries and borders, and unfortunately that's some of the challenge behind it, but that's also some of the opportunity behind it too. We are trying to support interest in more collaborative responses and approaches to this. And I think we've done a good job in taking that approach and living it since 2024 when the plant was first detected. And the working group that we're here speaking on behalf of today was established. This working group that we've been able to combines expertise and shared response capacity, equipment, management, know-how, and knowledge. The same folks that are responsible for doing those 14 private pond eradications or smaller pond eradications, and also those agencies of federal and provincial government that are doing important work in other parts of the Trans-Siberian Waterway where Water Soldier is established. So we believe we have the knowledge, the know-how, and the tools, and the people sitting around the table at that working group coming together with collaborative solutions. Next slide, please, Katie. There is a risk of doing nothing on Water Soldier. Again, this is that same drone photo. And just to navigate your eye, if you're new to Water Soldier, what you're looking at the upper limit of that photo there's a darker green. Those are, of course, cattails. This is a photo taken with a drone from, I don't know, maybe 35 or 40 feet up in the air in Cook's Bay. And if you look at that more lime green color, not great with color descriptions, but more of a lime green into the center part of the water. Yeah, thank you. That is Water Soldier in its emergent form. So it has popped up out of the water column. That photo was probably taken around this time last year. And if you look below the boats there, you see a darker version. That's Water Soldier lurking down below the surface. It has yet to pop up out of the water column, but given another week or two, it would have popped up out, and those boats would not be able to be paddling through that water area there. So there is a high probability of subsequent spread without continued action or further action on this. There are increased pressures on shoreline residents and business owners, canal users, those who navigate through the waterway, of course. Think of all those kind of challenges associated with other dense growing aquatic invasive plants. This one, unfortunately, it is the densest growing aquatic plant in Ontario. And it, really doing nothing at this stage, unfortunately, does create a pressure point in that it restricts options in the future. We're interested in pursuing a substantial suppression of this, a reduction in the size of this population. Of course, that's what the members of the working group are here and informing us as a working group and telling us is their desired next step. And unfortunately, no action in the short term would challenge that option of broader management, bigger, more ambitious management into the future. Next slide, please, Katie. Thank you. There is a proposed plan in store for 2026. You may have heard there was a funding announcement. Thankfully, the province of Ontario invested about $2 million in a number of projects that are happening across the province. There was 112 projects that were announced. And that was in Innisfil, I think about 2 weeks ago. So we were very excited to be a close partner on that and to really applaud and support that great work. One of those 112 projects is going to support work that's happening this summer. It's about approximately $100,000 that's going to be supporting the monitoring work and light pilot treatment in terms of doing a couple different control techniques as well. That's consistent with the integrated management plan that's been developed by the group. So there is a little bit of work that's happening on Water Soldier. It is, Katie mentioned 450 hectares is the current distribution size. We're still refining what specific population or areas are going to be treated, but just to manage expectations, the treatment area is very small. It is truly a pilot leading edge approach with a couple small populations. Nowhere near that full 450 hectares will be treated, and that's really because we're of course continuing to learn lessons as we use adaptive management and the realities of the budget that would take to manage a 450 hectare size. That's approximately $5 million over 5 years, and that's just some kind of quick math, but just to give you a rough understanding of what would it cost to address the current distribution size of Water Soldier in Lake Simcoe. So we're doing good work engaging with municipalities. There are municipal members, as well as First Nation members, as well as NGOs and different levels of government that sit on that our working group that have developed this integrated management plan. And there's lots happening in terms of detection and monitoring this summer, thanks to the province of Ontario's investment. So we're very excited about that. You may see a couple crews out on the water this summer, and that again is thanks to the Ministry of Natural Resources investment in this work. And there is proposed management implementation, as I mentioned. Part of that funding allocation unlocks some pilot treatment work. We're looking forward to happily come back to the commission with some updated monitoring results that are going to happen as a result of the great work that's being done in the field this season. Next slide, please, Katie. The path to success on this, if we are to pursue broader and more ambitious approach to holding the line and even walking it back on Water Soldier in Lake Simcoe in Cooks Bay, would require strong provincial and federal partnerships. We understand municipalities are in many ways, the pointy end of the stick, and budget pressures are tight. So, the reality is doing this work at an ambitious scale would require an ambitious engagement between the federal and provincial governments. There are important roles for local municipal involvement as well. Participating in the working group is really important, an important first step to make sure municipal interests and perspectives are reflected in our approach. Endorsing the management plan that the working group has co-created is a really important additional step municipalities can take. Of course, Georgina, as was previously mentioned, wisely mentioned, that the Township of Georgina had put forth a motion, and we're interested to see that. It was really strong language and really interesting approach, and supportive of quick action on Water Soldier and collaboration on Water Soldier and Lake Simcoe. So really appreciate those opportunities that municipalities can take. Also, communications support, including updates on Water Soldier in newsletters, on websites. That would be very helpful next steps that municipalities can take. Of course, the conservation authorities involved in the working group, and we really appreciate them sitting on the working group. Their great work on communications and outreach. They actually just put out a couple posts this week celebrating Lake Health Month or Lake Month, and they're focusing in on Water Soldier. So really appreciate the contributions they can make and have made in that space as well. Next slide, please, Katie. Would be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to talk about invasive species and the broader costs. We did do a municipal survey polling all municipalities a few years ago about what are the costs associated with invasive species. And I just wanted to daylight to the commission that the Invasive Species Center does a very interesting survey that we've done a few years ago, and it's time to redo. So we're excited to make note that we are doing a new survey, and we're trying to collect the information and update existing information on how much our municipalities spending on invasive species more broadly, be it Water Soldier, be it emerald ash borer, be it other aquatic invasive species that the pressure points of this commission is well familiar with. So we're really excited for that, and this is just a call for continued participation. We go out to all 444 municipalities and ask, would you take the time, please, to complete the survey, because it helps us understand and articulate what are the costs associated with invasive species and what are the opportunities in terms of more collaborative and multi-municipal engaged opportunities to work together on this important work. We're also happy to continue to try and bring in more responses to the survey, and we're offering a draw, an opportunity to win a free boot brush station for a municipal park or public space to help clean boots and get some information out there on invasive species. So we just want to take a quick opportunity to give a quick plug for that. Next slide, please, Kate. Just want to thank the commission again for receiving this, and we're happy, Katie and I, to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin and Katie. Does anybody have any questions? Commissioner Schuessler?
Can I just ask, what type of root system does this have? Is it like a daisy chain root system? You mentioned, hand extraction. Are they easy to pull out? And what do you do if you have a plant? How do you dispose of it?
Excellent question. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Part of integrated pest management is not just about using herbicides. They are a tool in the toolbox, but harvester removal is another key piece, and hand removal, as you identify, is another key thing. So, for example, tomorrow on the 10th, the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters are having a public landowner session where they're teaching people how to do that hand removal. It's very doable. You can do it from a canoe, kayak, wading in the water, or from the side of a boat. The roots are not overly robust, I guess. They are well tethered down to the water column. The roots do give the plant mobility, so they kind of increase in length, and that allows the plant to become emergent out of the water later in the season. So what folks are going to learn tomorrow how to do is how to remove that plant physically. As I mentioned, the big challenge with water soldier is that it's so thick, the biomass is so robust. So removing a couple bag full of plants, unfortunately, don't get you much area in front of the dock or in front of the water access point. So that's the problem, is it is just so robust and dense. But a good stewardship opportunity for local residents, for example, within the rules that the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Trent Severn Waterway do in terms of removal of invasive plants by hand. It is possible, and it's part of our recommended approach. It's part of that integrated management plan. So you can remove it. It's not all that hard. It is tough work because it's such a dense plant and has so much biomass associated with it, though.
I have a few questions if nobody else. Sorry.
The screen's frozen.
Oh. I've got a question for you on your first slide that you showed, the water soldier in Ontario timeline. I was just curious, on 2014, the first large scale herbicide application, was that successful, or like, well, what happened there? It looks like you eradicated it, right?
So that's part of the challenge, is that no 1 year single treatment is going to do the job on water soldier. There's been a number of large scale herbicide applications. Diquat, just to go right to it, is one of the products that has been used quite successfully. It's a very large open system where that specific treatment happened. And unfortunately, there were funding gaps, 1 or 2 years, that unfortunately prevented proper eradication from the Trent Severn Waterway around that time. So that was the first one, as you rightly point out, in 2014. It was understood at that time that multiple years of treatment would absolutely be required to continue to show progress and walk the line back on its distribution. Unfortunately, there just was a funding gap in one of those years. That's why, as the group has, the working group has proposed, a 5-year timeline and a 5-year funding commitment would help give us the surety that we need to make sure that we're not pursuing this 1 year at a time. That's one of the key takeaways I would suggest as one of the lessons learned in the Trent Hills population, is just 1 year that experiences a funding gap where continued treatment isn't possible, unfortunately puts a really meaningful dent in progress there. And if you fast forward through that timeline, unfortunately, what you'd see in 2021 is flushing down through the Trent Severn Waterway system down to the Bay of Quinte. Water soldier was found in 2021. And that's a bit of a challenge in terms of not continuous treatment, as you get those breakaway populations that could float downriver and find their way elsewhere. So I think if we apply that to the Ramara conditions and situations and Lagoon City context more broadly, that's what it could look like if the Cooks Bay population wasn't aggressively approached and treated with a multi-year continuity. Is unfortunately you could see those populations break away, plant spread, find their way up lake to other parts of the water body, or even elsewhere, marching west towards Georgian Bay through the Trent Severn Waterway.
So then a follow-up to that, in 2022, you said that it says here, a new aquatic herbicide tested in Ontario. And did that work, or what was that? Or was that safer, or what was that?
So there are 2 licensed use products that Water Soldier that are tools in the toolbox, and they both have their pros and cons. Diquat is one product with appropriate PMRA or Health Canada approval and provincial approval through MECP through the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. The second product that is a newer product on the scene is called Procellacor. 2022 was the first trial treatment. It was seen to be quite effective at killing water soldier. There are different pros and cons of it, as I mentioned. For example, distance from water intake is another kind of key distinguishing feature. Frankly, price points is a distinguishing feature between those two products as well. So that's really why I think the working group recognizes that probably both of those products would be elements of, but not exclusive components of, a thoughtful integrated management plan. Using both of those herbicide products is likely an opportunity that we'd love to see to be effective at that scale. But of course, hand pulling and mechanical removal as well are other important elements of a thoughtful, well-rounded, comprehensive approach.
So I guess then what I'm going to say next is our harvester would probably clean up that mess down there in probably a week or so. And my question is that going to solve anything? Because we're just cutting it off. Will it just grow back again?
Unfortunately, 450 hectares, there have been trials to ask how quick can we do a square meter with a harvester. Unfortunately, the lesson learned from Water Soldier, and this trial happened in Trent Severn Waterways, so east and kind of that core population, the same area that you'd identified that was treated back in 2014. Unfortunately, the reality is that you could be out there cutting from mid-July until the end of the summer, and you could have a fleet of harvesters out there, and it would not address a 450 hectare size problem because the plant is so dense in its biomass. So it would take months and months and months and repeat and multiple machines out there to be able to do a challenger situation that size and scale. They're important pieces of integrated pest management, but harvesting alone, you're absolutely correct, is not a solution. It's an important piece of integrated management, but it is not an effective solution in its own right, even with an unlimited supply of harvesters, which of course is financially not realistic. What I would say that we've learned the lesson from Black River is that by removing as much of the biomass in that small scale, it was by hand, but a mechanical harvester would be a great proxy machine. Removing as much of that as possible and then following up with a herbicide treatment immediately following is a really, really effective solution in that space. So when I spoke before about we're doing adaptive management, we're learning lessons from other areas, other pilot treatments, other different size and scale opportunities. That's the same approach the working group would take to if there was a more scaled version of management in Cooks Bay and in Lake Simcoe. We'd look to ask the questions of what areas can we remove physically with a harvester, and how can we follow that up with additional management tactics to make sure, to your earlier point, we are being as effective as we can using integrated pest management.
All right, because I know the Black River, that was when I was first aware of it, and you'd find 3 or 4, and you would send in a rapid response group that would circle it, and you would dig it all up, and then you would spray the area, then you would monitor it for a month or two afterwards. That was the Black River down in Pufferlaw, right? Yeah.
You got it. And it's been monitored year over year since then, and thankfully no water soldier detected every year since then. So holding it up as an example of what we can do when we hit it early, when we find it early, and we have good collaborative responses on it.
What about disposal of the water soldier when you get it in your harvester? Is there an issue disposing of it, or is there some rules?
Thank you. I apologize. I missed that point that was involved in an earlier question. In a smaller scale example, the hand pulling example to the root question that was asked earlier, 30 meters from the shoreline is the provincial regulation. And the intent behind that is we don't want to put a pile right beside the lake and then have it wash back in. That's of course counterproductive. So that's why the province have regulations of removing it 30 meters from the water body itself. So that's an important distinction. The second element of it is for the harvester example, specifically to your question, when the plant, so the challenge with harvesters, that's why it's not a sustainable broad scale solution, is it just takes a minute or two to fill up the basket. And then once you're full, because it's such dense biomass, it takes a long time to truck it back. Maybe you have a barge involved in the project, maybe not, but that's actually where most of the inefficiency in that work has been found, is that it's a lot of transportation time. It's not a lot of on-water harvesting time. So that's part of the big challenge that we'd love to try and solve if we're able to pursue a bigger engagement project here. Specifically to the disposal question, that's a really important part of it. That's why the working group is able to kind of convene the right partners together, is that those operators of the harvester have the disposal plan, have the provincial permits associated with it. Water soldier is a provincially regulated species, so that does require them to have an approval to hold and remove the plant and get rid of it, and a disposal plan in place. So that's part of the planning process, part of the permitting process as well, for the province to provide the permit to be able to do this important work.
Okay. I have two more questions unless somebody else has a question. No. My other question was, how come that got so it's out of control down at Cook's Bay? How did that happen? It just seemed like it appeared there, and next thing you know, we've got a couple acres of it. What happened there?
Excellent question. To be frank, not sure. I think it's reasonable to assume that it had been there for a number of years before, just based on our understanding of water soldiers' growth patterns in other areas. It does act a little different in big water bodies, especially big water cooler bodies, as opposed to more shallow, warmer rivers. So it's hard to say. We don't have a specific what increases at this percent every year over year. So it's hard to source back. What we do know is that in 2024, the angler who first reported it, very thankfully, had participated in some water soldier training previously. So that's the value of having more public outreach engagement and more eyes on the water, is they're able to find it. I wish we had got the call about that maybe 2 years or 3 years earlier, because it would have been a more reasonable size. As I say, 450 hectares is the largest population in North America of this invasive plant. So it's hard to say how long has it been there? Why did it grow so quickly? I really don't have the answers, unfortunately. The one thing I would note is that there is a PhD student that's going to be starting shortly to study this work, based out of the University of Waterloo, out of their Waterloo Wetlands Lab, run by Dr. Rebecca Rooney, who I hope will be able to give us a little bit more information on things like nutrient cycling and the role of that within water soldier growth and distribution, and a couple other important science-based research questions that are still outstanding we don't have the answers to.
Okay. All right. Is there any other questions? Well, thank you very much. You've covered it really well. And hopefully we can stay on top of this. And I'd like to talk to you guys about some other things later about it. Because I just don't understand why it's so heavy. We deal with the starry stonewort here, and we take tons of that out, and that stuff weighs a ton when it comes out of the water. So I'm not sure the mass, like I'm going to probably go down and take a look at that stuff myself in my boat and just see how heavy it is and take a look at it. Yeah. But okay, thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back. Sorry. So now I want to change that because I think council should be aware of this. I think they should even listen to a deputation, because if you listen to what he said it's shallow lakes and warm lakes. And that's basically what Ramara pretty well is. And all your lakes, you got Mud Lake, all of them. And you get one of those suckers in there and you're in real trouble. It's when you take a look at it, you saw how you can't even tell there's water there anymore. And when you walk through it, that serrated will cut your hands, your legs, everything. It is a horrible way to deal with. So I would like to change it that we recommend that the council gets a deputation on this. You guys are in council, so.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that, Cal. I just procedurally, is Cal as the chair able to put that amendment forward?
No,
or do one of
I
us
got to get one of you.
Okay, that's fine. I can
Unless I come off as chair.
I can amend that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, so through the chair, we would need a mover and a seconder for that amendment, and then we can, if you like discuss more, we can do so and then take a vote on it. I'm just going to draft that up and then we'll get the wording for you.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so we'll get that done. Yeah, that's all I have on that. Chance to get ready. Next one. Well, I went to a seminar on this before. It was about, I don't know, whatever year that was. And I was with the other deputy mayor, John O'Donnell, and we went down, and it was probably about 6 years ago. And that weed, when we watched them and learned all about it, it really scared us. And that was why I've always tried to keep an eye on it. And then next thing I know, there's like a couple acres of it down in Cook's Bay. No, and I don't think it's in Holland River, because Holland River's got so muddy from all the mud and stuff from the farms. And I think it's too dark for anything to grow down there. If you go down there, it's like nothing grows down that way. Yeah.
Through the chair, just to confirm for the amendment, were you looking to ask council to contact the Invasive Species Center to arrange for a separate deputation, or to provide a copy of this deputation to council?
Yeah, I think do the deputation. Yeah.
Because we can harvest it in Lagoon City eventually. And you guys don't have that in the lakes out there. Well, once they do the deputation, they can do it then.
Through the chair, so we have the amendment ready as follows. That the motion before the commission be amended as follows, add and that the commission request that Township of Ramara Council invite the Invasive Species Center to give a deputation regarding water soldier in Lake Simcoe at a future council meeting.
All right, that's good to me. So all I just have to do is get the people that put it on the floor to.
The chosen need a mover and a seconder for this amendment. We'll take a vote on the amendment and then we would take a vote on the motion as amended if this amendment is successful.
Okay. So I'll get a second on that. Deputy Mayor? And now all in favor? Who is the first mover on it?
Through the chair, so I was going to clarify because I believe the deputy mayor had said he would move.
So I need to get another seconder then. Okay, Commissioner Schuster, you second it. Okay.
So through the chair, so this vote would be just on that amendment, adding it to the original motion. So we have moved by the deputy mayor, seconded by Commissioner Shoesmith.
Yeah. Yes. All in favor? Let's pass. Okay, the next one we've got, and I have to go to the initial now. Oh, vote on that? All right, all in favor? Yeah, we did right at the beginning. Yeah, all in favor? I always get mixed up on that, like how to do that. Because it feels like we're saying yes to the first one and yes to a second one, right? Yeah. Okay, council budget 7.1, council voucher dated June 30. Recommendation that council voucher dated June 30, 2026 be received information. Mayor on the floor, second by Commissioner Shoesmith. Discussion on that. All right. I just said something. I was just curious. I'm not sure if anybody's in here that can answer my question because I don't see the Summit Property Group on 7.1, that money for 4,320. Who's the Summit Property Group? Who is that? Laura?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is the LCPW's maintenance group. So they do the grounds maintenance and grass cutting at the private beaches.
Okay, I've never seen that name before. Okay, and that's the same thing as the Summit. And the other question I just had, that plumbing that went on with the bathroom down there, it's every year we seem to have issues there. Do we have to look at a whole refit or something down there eventually, or everything's okay?
Through you, I think this is just some of the age of the infrastructure there and the process of winterizing it. So we would come back if there was a report if we needed to do more work to it as part of the budget deliberations.
Okay, thank you. And that's all I have on that. Any other ones? All in favor? Let's pass. 7.2, budget to actual. Recommendation that the budget to actual report dated June 30th, 2026 be received as information and put on the floor. Let's see the mayor down there, second by come on, Tom, put your hand up there. Second by Commissioner Hart. Discussion on that. The only comment I had on it was I saw the legal fees was 7,469, and I see that we've only got 20,000 in the budget on that. I'm a little concerned if we're going to go over budget on that. Just some, I guess, I'm not sure how many more legal costs that we've got coming. Okay, I forgot about you.
Oh, no. Through you, Mr. Chair, as of right now, there's nothing currently tied to that legal budget that's been directed by the commission.
Okay, so we're good with the 20,000 then. Perfect. All in favor? Let's pass. Next one we've got is 8.1. I think that's what everybody's been waiting for. Canal maintenance and operations. Recommendation that report LC 11-26 regarding canal maintenance and operations be received. And that Lagoon City Parks and Water Commission remove the water movers from service until such time as further recommendations can be received. Put it on the floor. Deputy Mayor, second by Commissioner Shoesmith. Okay, all right, discussions.
I'm just wondering, I know our general manager, Laura Pye, I gave her about 9 questions that residents have given me. Maybe she could do a summary and see how many questions she could answer before we go ahead and answer them.
Yeah, because I guess you listened to what people said, right? Yeah, okay. Because I didn't, they talk so fast, I couldn't really take notes.
So through you, Mr. Chair, a couple of things I did want to update on is that we have had communications from DFO that the application has moved to management for determination of the final decision. And unfortunately, at this point, the answer is that there'll still be a few weeks with that decision. I have been in contact with them, and staff have been in regular contact with them. We're working to see if there's anything we can do to mitigate that decision, if we can expedite the decision, and work towards that. So we are going to continue working with them at this stage. But at this point, we're still going to be a few more weeks before we can do anything.
Well, that's like, there's no question. Yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry.
So that is one of the updates. The other update from the time of the writing of the report was that Tatham Engineering was scheduled to come on site today to do the second component of the sound attenuation. And I can speak to some of the questions that we had about what work was done. We did add some cushioning and some changes to the installation of the pump on the pontoon to try and remove the vibration noise and to mitigate that piece. That was what we had done. And we had done that with the contractor who has been the pump contractor who's been involved with the water movers from the early 2000s. So that was the work that we had done. We were getting Tatham to come back out today to do that final piece to see if we have mitigated the noise from prior to them being removed from service. Unfortunately, due to the weather, they had to cancel today. So we're expecting that to be done next week. However, we are asking that the recommendations still stand, that we actually have the water mover shut off until such time that we can complete that study. We'll turn them on for the purposes of the noise study, and then we would wait for the recommendations to go from there. And then in regards to some of the questions that I've heard, so yes, we have had direction from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans in writing and in verbal conversations that the activities that we have for harvesting and skimming do meet the requirements for them to go through the work review process. And that is what we have done. And we submitted that application in March, and we've been working with them since then, including responding to questions regarding those applications and clarifications. So at this point, again, the decision is with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. And if I could ask them to have a response today, I absolutely would. But the ball is in their court at this point. So, and so until we get direction from them for those activities, we cannot do those. After hearing some of the discussion that we had today, we can put the boat, one of the smaller harvester is in the water currently, and we will work to removing the large trees that have fallen from the storm and things that shouldn't be in the canals, like chairs and things like that. That's not going to be what the DFO is mandating. So we can go in and we will work on that. For a contingency plan, that's where we really need to see what that decision looks like from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. And I don't want to speak to that yet until we understand where they take us with that decision. We are working on what can we do ahead of if that decision comes back, a direction that we don't want, or later on in the season. So unfortunately, I don't have an answer today, but we are aware and we will be working on something. And those will be communications that will come out at a later time. So, and to the point about, you know, the information about the water movers and the bubblers and the efficacy of these programs, I do think that that is a fair point. And and actually a question that I have myself, and I understand, and this goes even to the water movers themselves. I think it's important with over the time and over the years, and this also goes to, the pathway of how we got to here today, which is looking at the maturation of processes and interpretation of legislation. Things change. So what happened 20 years ago may not be the same as what's happening today. And so it's important for us to go back and ask the questions to make sure we're still doing what's relevant and current. So with things like the water movers and the bubbler systems, I think it's really important that maybe we take some time and do a study, figure out what is the goal, what are we trying to achieve with these pieces of technology, and make sure that they're achieving what we are aiming to do by putting in actual benchmarks and targets that we can monitor and say, yes, we're meeting that target, or no, we are not, and therefore addressing it along those ways.
Second. I think he's muted it now. Yeah, he's muted. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Laura.
So I do think that there is validity to that. And I had been contemplating that as part of our budget deliberations going forward for 2027 and proposing a study. I need to figure out what the scope of that would look like and making sure that what we're putting in a review period so that every few years we're looking back at that and saying, is it achieving what we're supposed to be achieving? And are we meeting the goals that we intend to? So I can 100% assure you that as staff, we would prefer to be out on the canals right now and doing the work that we know that needs to be done. But at the same time, we really have to make sure that we're maintaining our compliance with legislation. That is 100% our role, and making sure that we're balancing that environmental stewardship with what we need to do. So hopefully that addressed the questions. And if there's anything else that's standing, let me know.
Well, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think I just want to make a comment too, just for July 15th is the earliest we can start the harvesting anyways. That's the DFO's regulations for protecting species, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and the second thing is what are the fines? Because my understanding is the fines could be upwards for single offense is up to $500,000. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, at this point, I haven't looked at those. I just know that it is a substantial amount of money that, and again, as a municipality and as the commission, we are an entity as opposed to an individual, and those fines generally are escalated and elevated, and it's more frowned upon when it's a corporation, especially somebody in the government and public sector, that we would be intentionally going out and bypassing that legislation.
Because from the DFO, from what I read and understand, is it's up to $500,000 for that first one. It could be more if there's rehabilitation required to bring the habitat back to where it was prior, so the fish could. So this is a much bigger scale thing. I know it's a real inconvenience, it's a real pain. Everybody's disappointed and frustrated, but there's a lot of legalities to this. And the approval, it should take about 60 days to have that approval start to be processed from the time we give it. If there's an error or missing information, that 60-day period starts over. But if everything goes through, they have another 90 days then to give it to us. So we should have been right pretty close to the start time. It's just whatever's happening is slowing the process down. Just want to clarify that. And one more thing, if we were to look at moving the water intakes out, who would pay for that? Would that be the levy payers? Would that be the water and sewer users? Would it be a split if that was an option? And any idea of what that cost would be?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, I don't have any ideas about cost. I would have to bring that back. But the short answer is that's a good question, and we'd have to take that under advisement. Again, there's legalities with regards to the water and wastewater system that they are self-funded and paying for themselves. However, when it's a direction that isn't necessarily the water system that's requiring it, so we would have to take a look at what that would look like.
Okay, thank you.
So what was your question there? That who pays for it?
Yeah,
so Parks and Waterways or the water users? Is that what?
Correct. To move that water intake out so that it was safe enough to use herbicides and chemicals in the canals, who would pay for that? Because it's actually to maintain the canals, but it's actually infrastructure that belongs to the water and sewer users. So I was confused about who would pay for that.
Well, then I would have to imagine then the farmers up there would pay for it with what they're sending down too, right?
I wasn't talking about drains. I'm talking about the intakes.
No, I'm just saying where the intake is. That's where a lot of it's coming down, right? Like you're opening a can of worms there. Yeah,
Just a question.
okay. No, I was just surprised when I heard that. Any other questions, Mayor?
Yes. So yeah, you pointed out July 15th is the earliest they let us in harvesting, is that's any given year, because that's when they consider the fish spawning over, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that is correct. We have requested that the skimming happen potentially ahead of that July
Right.
15th window. And so again, we're waiting to hear what that response is.
Yeah, because they consider the skimming taking away the fish food is part of the problem we're having here now. They, where we used to, well, we couldn't skim as early because of the high water this year, because of the extreme flooding. The harvesters couldn't fit under the bridges. So, I mean, we couldn't skim when we normally would. And now they're saying we don't want you skimming during the spawning season as well. So we're kind of caught here. The weather wouldn't let us go when we needed to start, and now they don't want us skimming either. So
well, we could have skimmed though the main arteries.
Well,
the little one go under the bridges. I think even the big one would do it. It's just you wouldn't be able to go to Turtle and the back with it.
Yeah,
that was the ones you couldn't go to. The question I have, I guess, well, I got a bunch of them. I'm just trying to think which one I wanted to ask you. On all of this, right? So there's no way we can start any harvesting or anything, and you're just trying to get now the skimming. That's what we're working on right now, because that's really what's causing more problems than anything, because now we've got all that and the water's not moving. And the clean flow system with the bubbler system, it's not moving the water at all. And what's going to happen if we're not careful, we're going to end up with the blue-green algae hitting us. And once we get that, we're in real trouble. And you won't have to worry about weeding anymore, because it'll wipe out all the weeds, it'll wipe out all the fish, it'll wipe out everything. So that's where you got to be very careful. It's very dangerous. And we've had a couple times over the years, we could see it coming in some of the back lagoons. And now I know there's somebody thinks that the green slime that's on there, I think that's just pollen that just came down, I think the last couple of days or so. But you can really see it starting to seize up. Even the rain and the wind and that, it didn't clean it up at all. Normally we get a good storm that cleans up the top of it. But I guess because we haven't done any skimming at all, it's keeping it pretty dirty. And the other comment, sorry, Laura, just one other comment I have. We have the two weeds that we're dealing with right now. We have the starry stormwort and we have that skinny one I can never remember the name of. And I've been watching it in front of my place, and it looks like the starry stormwort is killing the other one. It looks like it's starting to knock those down. And the other comment that I'll make too is that I found it interesting that there was a lot of places when they reported these long skinny ones that I can't remember that you see all around, that's what the reward used to get rid of. Certain areas don't have it. And I'm wondering, and that's why I'd love to talk to, what's his name, Nick, whether or not, is that the hard bottom now that we've got rid of a lot of that, I guess, muck and everything, and we've gone to a hard bottom, and those plants can't get rooted. The other one, it's an algae, it just moves around. But I'm wondering if that's what's happened, because some people are telling me they don't see it. I know in Beaver Trail or something, they don't have it down there. So it's just an interesting observation. The other thing I wanted to move to next, and oh, sorry, Laura, I didn't answer.
Thank you. So through you, Mr. Chair, to your first comment about, no, the application for review with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans is for skimming and harvesting. It is not just one of those activities. So again, we've asked for the skimming to happen outside of the normal fish spawning the protection for the fish spawning season, which is before July 15th. So we're waiting to hear that. And then the other part is the harvesting, which would be happening during the non-protected window, which I believe is July 15th to October 1st. So that's when the harvesting would occur. Just to clarify, it is for both of those activities that we're waiting for decisions.
So when we applied for those, did we know what fish are spawning, when they're spawning in our lagoons?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's not relevant to the fish spawning season is set by the Department of Fisheries of Oceans. It's about what fish are available in the area. And the July 15th is common for this area based on what our fish do in our habitats here.
Okay. Yeah, I hope they update it, because we got the global warming happening now too, right? My other question now is, you brought up, I guess, the operations with the harvester net. So what I want to make sure is that, are we ready when we finally get the OK to head in there to start to harvest the staff? Because I know when we used to run it, we used to be able to do it in the 4.5 days. And then eventually I think we went to 4 days. Are we going to be able to run 5 days? And if we have to run on weekends to get these weeds out? Because once we get permission, we can move pretty quick with the equipment we've got. That large piece of equipment is going to take up a lot of weeds. And I know last year in the fall, they were looking for weeds. They'd pretty well cleaned up a lot of the weeds in Lagoon City. So they were out there looking for weeds. So I'm hoping that we have the staff and that we've got them trained and ready to go. And that's why I just wanted to double check with you. Do we have the ability to do overtime? Because we've saved all this money because we haven't done anything really in the last 2 months. We could put that towards overtime to get the weeds out quicker.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we're completely prepared to start as soon as we have that decision. The staff are ready to go. The equipment is ready to go. We would have to take it under consideration about the overtime and weekends and determine what is needed at the time. So.
But I just want to get ahead of the game because we know we're going to need the overtime. So we're going to be asking for that. So whenever we're told to get going, even if it's after the July 15th, then I think we should be prepared and we should be talking to our staff to whether or not they can do overtime and whether or not we have to train somebody or teach somebody else so that we could get the shifts running.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have enough staff that are ready to go. So we'll take that under consideration and go forward. So it generally is, there's a lot of pieces because again, we do have the staff that are dedicated to, that are trained to be on the boats, but we're also managing all of the other work that we do as well. So I just don't want to commit to something that we can't necessarily achieve, but we will do the best that we can.
And my last one to somewhat like that, can we get prepared for next year to find out what went wrong this year so that we can be ahead of the game for next year?
Absolutely.
No, I just wanted to, do something. Is there any other questions? Tom, or Commissioner Hart? We can't hear you. You got to turn your mute on. Mute off. There you go. There you go.
Thank you, Chairman. Just more of a comment. I want to comment on thanking the presenters. Obviously, they did some research and all had some valid points. I just want to go back to your comment, Chairman, in relation to Laura's presentation, and I appreciate that as well. We really have to, we understand the urgency here, working with the Department of Fishery and Oceans to get the application and process by the 15th of July. But I think this is, I'm sure they understand the urgency, and we have to make sure we have the schedule in place. And if there is overtime, we've got to really go after it as aggressively as possible. That's my personal comment. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? We can't take questions from the audience. But you can ask us after the meeting. Okay, so all in favor? That's passed. Where am I here now? There. Cedar trees. 8.2, cedar trees and compressor sheds, recommendation that LC 1226 regarding cedar trees and compressor sheds be received.
Through the chair, just so this motion, the second half is that a recommendation be provided for the remaining trees. So right now we don't have a recommendation. So my suggestion would be that the commissioners discuss and see what your recommendation would be, and then we could put that motion on the floor.
Okay. I heard what you said, so I'm not going to repeat it. Mayor put on the floor, Deputy Mayor will second it. Discussion? Mayor?
Yeah, I don't think, I'm looking at the pictures of the trees. I don't think they'd survive being moved again either, because they look like they're struggling. I mean, I could see us adding where in the second photo, just adding some more trees again to try and fill in what died, but I certainly wouldn't try moving them.
Well, when we got those huts, we actually paid extra to design them to make them look good, that they weren't huts. If you take a look at the one in Turtle, it doesn't look that bad. And I think the other problem is they have to be watered. I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
So any discussion on what we should do?
I was going to say, I wouldn't recommend moving these, so I'd just leave them alone at this point, because I think if you dig them up and move them, you're only going to find they're going to die as well.
So
Yeah, doesn't look like the best place.
I would actually consider calling somebody in because that looks like there's actually a disease that goes into these cedars and they start from the end and work their way in and kill them. And they could be sprayed and cleaned up. So it might be worth having somebody like Scott. I don't want to name anybody, but any company can come in.
Did you have your hand up? No. Well, I know, and I look at the tree. I don't even know if I'm not an expert, but I don't know if those are the right cedars that we should have. Because there's certain cedars you can plant and they'll live through anything as long as you water them the first year or so. And those look like those are more ornamental or whatever they call it. Yeah. Well, I know my hedge, it's a whole different cedar and you can do anything you want to them. Yeah.
Yeah, those aren't native to this area.
No. So we have to put native on. Okay. All right. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to spend the money on turtle there. I think it looks okay. There's nothing really wrong with it. There's nothing living anywhere around that thing now. And I think there was some plants put in there. There was a whole bunch of things put in there. You wanted to bring in somebody to give us some advice what to do, or
it was just an option. I thought if we think that that brown is getting more and it's getting worse, then we should probably bring somebody in to see if they can be saved before it's too late.
All right. I think it's lack of water to me.
Do you think so?
That's what it looked like to me, but I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to bite on this one, huh? That's what I don't want to spend the money on.
Through the chair, Commissioner Hart had his hand raised a moment ago.
Who did?
Commissioner Hart did.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Commissioner Hart. I wasn't looking at the TV.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Relating to the trees, they're not only just for beautification, but they do provide a sound barrier as well. So I think that would be something to consider as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, maybe we should get somebody to come in, take a look at it and give us a report on it, like a landscaper or I don't know, a tree person and put them in. And they'll probably tell you what's wrong with those trees, right? Okay, do that. So we're going to change that motion, I guess, right?
Through the chair to General Manager Pai, would that require additional funding or is that included within the current funding allocation?
Through you, to have somebody come in and do a report, I don't think we can manage that within the operating budget. If there's any cost, it'll be minimal. And then we'll bring forward the recommendations that'll have any budgetary impacts.
And how much it's going to cost, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Through the chair, if you'll just give me 1 moment to draft that motion and then we can read it and make sure you're okay with it.
Thank you. Actually, we insulated those sheds too. Those sheds got lots of insulation in it to keep them quiet. Yeah. And then we made sure that the vents went out to the road so the noise didn't come in. And there was no complaints when we installed them. Huh? That's all. It's the. We got your message, Ken. You want us to go closer so you can hear. No problem. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just as Ms. Nusi is drafting that motion, just to clarify, would this be to have somebody come in and take a look at both compressor sheds or only the one with the existing trees? Just so that we're making sure we're bringing back what the commission requires.
I myself personally would be only the one that has the trees there right now. I don't see an issue with the other one.
Through the chair to General Manager Pai, just to confirm which of the compressor sheds has the tree, so I can put that in the motion.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's Beaver Trail.
Sorry.
Through the chair, so we do have a motion drafted. I can read it to make sure this works for you. Just let me know if you like any changes. That report LC 1226 regarding cedar trees at compressor sheds be received, and that the Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission direct staff to seek a third-party opinion on feasible next steps for the cedar trees at the Beaver Trail compressor shed and report back to the commission.
Good with that? You guys see? Okay, so I have to put a motion on the floor. So the Deputy Mayor, second by Commissioner Shoesmith. And then discussion? All in favor? Let's pass. Now I go back to the next one and I do it again. Right? I go to the second motion now.
Through the chair, so that was just one motion. So yes, that was the full motion that was put on the floor and voted upon.
So I don't have to go back to the second one. Perfect. All in favor? Okay. Now, what do we got here? 8.3. Enforcement of Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission policy. Recommendations report LC 1026 regarding enforcement of Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission policy number PW0118. Private beaches wristband policy be received. And the policy number PW0118 be amended to replace anyone found on private beach without the proper wristband will be asked to leave, and the police choose to enforce the trespassing laws with anyone found on the beaches without the proper wristband or who are not a guest or resident with a valid wristband will be asked to leave. If the police choose to enforce trespassing laws. Somebody put on the floor. Commissioner Shoesmith, second by the mayor. Discussion.
Well, this is just a wording change to clear up, the way.
That really is all it is too, right? Yeah, that's the bylaws are there, yeah. That's all it is really, right? Yeah.
Yes, through the chair, that's all it is, just to clarify, because when we gave the security company the policy, it stated everybody without a wristband shall be removed. But the direction that I gave them was my understanding from the commission was if they were guests, they could stay. So there was a bit of confusion. So we just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, that's what the commission was. We've always talked about it. We've always said that if somebody has a couple wristbands with them, they can bring their friends and their family. They don't have to have wristbands on them because we didn't want to put that many out. Commissioner Shoesmith?
Can I just ask the bylaw officer, when we say the private beaches, does that include right up to the shore walls? Like I'm talking, where the hotel is. I mean, there's a gateway there and a lot of people just park in the parking lot and come in, walk around the fence, fish, use the beach, whatever.
Through the chair, what we've been saying is up to where the grass and the sand is what we check for the wristbands. The parking and the fishing is a little bit different, and I am dealing with that. And we know it's because of the gate being unlocked and working with Aqua to make sure that every time they leave, they lock it. Because right now it appears that their policy is they lock it at the end of the day and keep it open to allow their vehicles to go in and out. And I've requested that every time the vehicle leaves, it locks behind there.
Yeah, the fence that blocks that pathway off, there was some talk some time ago about extending that, just putting kind of like an arm attached so you can't just walk around it and walk on the concrete caps and enter that way. It's simple. There's about three feet of width. You just walk around. So you're not really stopping anybody by closing that gate anyways.
Through the chair, you're correct. I'm more talking about stopping the vehicles from parking and then accessing. So at least if we stop the vehicles from getting there, people can still walk around. And security has been advised they are to be walking around looking at both sites, any entry. And part of their patrol is to walk through the beach, view people with or without wristbands, and then just ask, notice you don't have a wristband. are you with somebody today? And if they are not, then they ask them to leave. So we did have some issues with security. And I know can I speak to that? Because I know
Absolutely.
the chair wanted me to address a little bit of that. So I did put a little bit together because early mid-June, we learned that we were having some issues with security. Rumors were that maybe they weren't even attending. So what we ended up doing is we put together a bit of an operational plan where I had all our bylaw officers attend on regular basis to check what the security is doing, where they're located. And that went from June 20th to June 28th. And through that, we found there was very sporadic finding of the actual security guard. Based with that information, we did contact the security company, said what we needed. They assured me that they would do everything that we requested. And then July 1st came. And everything that they promised that they would be monitoring, enforcing, did not occur. Actually, I received close to 15 complaints after July 1st. So from that date, I actually had the operations manager come to Ramara and meet with the security personnel from that site. And we walked through the expectations, explained exactly what it is that we wanted. And that's where the whole wristband actually issue came up. But I walked them to where you had talked about that entrance, make sure people aren't going there. And if people are parking there, for them to contact bylaw, because security has nothing to do with parking. So we are aware of the parking issue. So we are addressing that. I've got a confirmation from security that they now fully understand the security guy is wearing a visible neon green vest so he can be seen, because part of their talk to me was, oh, he was there, but he was in his vehicle or he might have been on break. So we said that was unacceptable. You will wear the vest, you will be present. That was implemented last weekend. We had one really poor day of rain, so I'm not sure how that went, but on the Sunday, we did visit twice with the security guard. He was there, and part of the new process is when security shows up, they have to check in with bylaw on duty, and it's for officer safety purposes as well, so that we know they're there, and bylaw is going to routinely drive by, not so much to help enforce, but ensure officer safety and to make sure that everything is going as planned. So that's kind of an overview of what we're doing with security for the commission to understand that we did get some complaints and we are addressing them, and everything's sort of tied up, and that's how we got here today with the wristband as well.
Commissioner, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Brian, what is the fallout of this? Like, have they been given written warning? At what point do we issue those warnings for them? And also, I don't believe we're paying them to patrol the beaches, not sit in their vehicle. So I don't think that's really an acceptable answer. But
I agree. We explained that it wasn't acceptable for him to be in the vehicle. I will make a concession. If it's pouring rain and nobody's on the beach, then that's the only time you should be in the vehicle. And the operations manager has provided him with an umbrella and a chair so he can actually be sitting on the beach and doesn't have to be in the vehicle. And I did talk with Ryan really briefly, saying that we want to meet and see what our options are if we have to not enforce this contract, how we get out. But we have not had those formal discussions yet, but we are thinking that way. One thing we can let the commission know is Victoria Day weekend. They did not show up on the Monday and they were not paid for that day.
Just quick follow-up if I can. So in future contracts, I would ask that maybe we look at putting some kind of penalties or fines in place that we can charge the company if they don't follow through and show up on times and do what they're asked to do. I would think that we could possibly do that.
Through the chair, certainly take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Two things there. I just wanted to say that the gate was always to be locked in and out. They were supposed to lock it. There was nothing about leaving it open all day. We never agreed to that. That's not what happened. The other thing is the person that is there, have them not sit on the beach, but have them where they're supposed to be is at the entranceway to go in. There's only one way to get in, right? Is that entranceway. And they can also see down further if there's anybody coming in the other way.
Through the chair, correct. Primarily, he is to be at that entranceway, but I do want him to walk around every now and then and do a patrol. And he also has to go to the other beach where really the contract states that he will go there 15 minutes out of every hour, but we have talked and said, I only need you to go there 2 or 3 times a day because that's not a problem spot for us. Your primary responsibility is the main beach.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, what they did was they were at the entranceway and every, I guess, hour, an hour and a half, they just did a quick stroll down the beach because they would already identify who they let in and they could tell if there's some new people there. And that's how simple. It's not a tough job, really. It's pretty simple. Yeah. And like the other thing too is if somebody refuses and they go onto the beach, they're not going to fight them or anything. Just let them go and then call bylaw or call the police, right? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I just like to say I'm on the North Beach and I kind of consider myself an equal partner. You know, it should be sort of a 50-50 division. You know, it doesn't take much for people to learn very quickly that if security is on one side, just simply go to the other side.
But they don't. Nobody knows about that side.
They do.
Yeah. A lot of people in the good city don't know about that side.
Well, they don't care about that side.
Well, I wouldn't know that side. It's too far to walk. Any other questions? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Tom, I'm not looking up. I'm sorry.
No, thank you, Chairman. Just a quick question with regards to the South Beach and parking in what used to be Pier 1. Do the security and the bylaw have authority to tow cars, or if they're my concern is blocking that locked gate, which should be locked now, but ensuring that if there is a response where fire and rescue had to get to the rescue boat, to ensuring that there's a clear path to allow the responders to get access to their boat quickly in the event that there is an emergency.
Through the chair, currently right now, fire as well as us have a key to that gate, so we can open it anytime that we want to. We are looking into putting that as the whole way in through Pier 1 and down that way to be a fire route, and that would not allow people to park there. So that's option 1. The other option that we are looking at is getting permission from the owner, whoever, we're trying to figure out, or I've asked us to determine who has ownership of that land and get actually written permission that we can enforce parking restrictions on that property under our bylaw. Because our bylaw allows us to engage in a contract with a private organization to enforce parking restrictions on their property. So that would be our number 1 thing. And the other thing too, if they're going to be parking anywhere along that pier area on the grass, I've instructed the officers, we do have a section in the bylaw 6.1 that states you may not leave a vehicle on municipal property. So we will use that as the enforcement mechanism until we get other signs or other agreements into place.
Excellent, thank you.
Do you have any other questions, Tom? Or Commissioner Hart? No.
Thank you very much, Brian, for the update.
Any other questions? Thanks. All in favor? Unfinished or new business? Actually, I have 2 for you, Laura, that I'd missed. Sorry. First of all, I wanted to ask about the boom. Is that covered under the fishery thing, or can we still have our boom up at least?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, that should be covered under our ability to manage the stormwater coming in. So that shouldn't be required any permits.
Okay, so what we need to do is fix it because a lot, I would say half of what we've got in our lagoons now have come through there. It's somebody's driven over it, I guess, on something and it's broken in the middle. I just double checked it today because I saw that other green slime coming in. That normally comes from the other side. So can we get that fixed as soon as possible?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the information. We'll get that addressed.
Okay. And the other question was the biotreatments with the clean flow system. We didn't really talk too much about that, did we? Do you know where we're at on that? Because there's arguments back and forth that you don't need permits for that and so on and so forth. And I know we missed it for the last 2 times, so I'm hoping we can deal with that and figure out if we can put that in, because that would be this fall that we would be looking at doing that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have asked the supplier to provide us with information and we're still waiting that information.
He still hasn't provided it.
Correct.
Okay. Any other unfinished or new business? I see Tom's hands up real quick. Commissioner Hart.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to circle back to the presenters, they all made some very valid points. And I'm not sure in terms of, it's more of a question in terms of order, but how do we get some of that, so those valid questions they had into, we put it on a staff report, or how do we ensure that those who made those presentations and had some very valid points, how do we as a commission, we have a duty to answer those questions. And the township has, in my respectful submission, has an obligation, a duty to answer those questions to the best of their ability.
So I guess we're going to pass it back to council. So how does that work? Because in the old days, this is the second time I've actually done the questions this way. We did it at the end and we answered the questions when they asked. And if we didn't have the answers, we looked into it.
Well, if I may,
yeah, sure.
The written one, we could forward them to the manager to respond to the individual. Some of them we can answer, like the pontoon boat, pretty straightforward. Where's it? It's
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's at our works yard, ready to go.
Yeah, and the same with the large harvester.
Correct.
Yeah, like some of them are straightforward. The one that maybe a little discussion is why the aqua required us, and I know why, to start the bubblers and stages. That's because of turbidity, correct? Because we have trouble with the treatment plant. I know when they open the Talbot River, we can get in the trouble treating water. We're backwashing almost as much as we're treating. So then, was it a couple of years ago, we were down to the last third in the water tower because we were using water faster than we could treat it because the filters kept plugging. So I'm assuming that's why.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that's correct. So we have been undergoing work at the drinking water facility to determine why we have some of the operational issues. And so it was us trying to see if the bubbler systems coming on early were impacting, because the drinking water facility does have significant impacts, including having to go into full water restrictions. So that was us trying to see if leaving the bubblers off and in the direct vicinity of the intake would help speed the recovery of the water plant after the spring freshet.
Did it? Or do we know yet?
Through you, Mr. I do not know the answer to that. Right. So we're still compiling that data and they'll come forward.
Yeah. But yeah, there will be. All right, perfect.
But I guess the question though then is, what about all those questions and all the rest there? What do we do? Like, how do we just give that to Laura and she answers the questions, or do you go back over to what the questions were asked? Like, I'm just kind of curious how that all works. We haven't experienced on Parks and Waterways. We don't have that many questions.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think there's a couple of options. If it's that there's direct questions that residents have, by all means, they can submit it to us and we can provide them specific answers to that. If the commission is looking for something more broad scoping, then at that point they could request a report of some sort that would be more public facing to answer, but it would need to be very specific about what topics and what questions were to be answered.
Right, because you can't just say, send us all the questions or whatever, and then we can end up with 200 questions, right? Like,
Well, typically, if I may, typically questions would be sent to staff originally, and like the period at the start of the meeting actually isn't a question period. It's for people to make statements on the agenda. What feel like the gentleman online had a very precise. Wants us to continue the water movers. That was his statements that he wanted to make, which is what's that set up for. Anytime people have questions,
but some of it was misinformation that he had,
right.
But we couldn't say anything.
Right.
Like I was dying to jump in and say that's misinformation.
But it's their opinion.
But I'm not allowed to tell them that. Right?
Right.
Well, no, he actually was saying, I read it, they ripped them right up and things, just things he said. There was some misinformation there.
Which is unfortunate, but when you have an open mic, that can happen, right? And it's, again, it's their opinions, so you tend to try and let it go.
Well,
But
it's very
questions
hard.
should all be forwarded, or they should be contacting staff directly to get questions answered.
Right, because you just had those questions answered at the end. Right? Yeah. Okay. Any other new business? It was the Commissioner Hart here? No, Mayor, you good? Okay, we're going to be going to the closed session. And I've got to read something here, don't I? Motion to move the Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission to a closed session. And I'm going to have to read all of it. A recommendation that pursuant Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, 25 notice is hereby given the Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission intends to hold a closed session meeting in the Richard P. Bates boardroom at a time to deal with items 10.2 regarding litigation update, Bertrand versus Township of Ramara, 226-1662 being a matter pursuant to section 239-2E litigation or potential litigation of the said act. Somebody put that on the floor. Mayor, second by the deputy mayor. And I guess we're going to go into closed session then.
Through the chair, was there a vote on that?
Oh, all in favor. Okay. Forgot you get it, and then you come out again then. Yeah, you do it again. This is only our second closed session in, I don't know, a year, 2 years? Yeah. Second one we've had in the last year. No, I was just making a comment. It doesn't matter. Okay, we've got, make sure everybody's here. Okay, there's Tom. Okay, 10.3. Motion to open session. Recommendation that Lagoon City Parks and Waters Commission rise from the closed session at time and the time is 11:40 and reconvene an open session and report. All put on the floor. Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Shoesmith. All in favor? Okay, we're out. Motions arising from closed session discussions. Do we have a motion or? Okay, thanks.
Through the chair, so the motion arising from closed session is that report LC 0926 regarding litigation update Bertrand Dale versus Township of Ramara AL 2026 ONSC 1662 be received as information.
Okay, so we put that on the floor. Commissioner Shoesmith, second by the mayor. All in favor? That's passed. We're moving to the adjournment. Recommendations of Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commissions being July 9th, 2026 be adjourned at 11:42. Put on the floor, Deputy Mayor, second by the mayor. All in favor? We're done. And thank you very much for your time with us. Yeah.